path because trust me, you're on the right path. And any being that is living and can see what you're doing can only applaud you. Speaking of which, like you're into grooming, this is a topic that's not touched on a lot, men's grooming. Let's jump into that. Um, why men's grooming? Why?
Well, men's grooming because, like I said, this is my background. I was a fashion
Yeah.
model in Paris from 19 to 20, and it was a gap year thing. I did it. My parents, stressed the importance of education, so they were like, okay, I tantrumed enough, and they were like, okay, fine, we'll let you go and do it, but just as a gap year thing, and then that's it. So even if you got the opportunity of a lifetime, you've got to say no to it, and you've got to come back, and you've got to go to come pursue your education. So that's what the agreement was, and
Yeah.
so I did it. I loved it, and I could have gone further in it. I could have gone much further, but I had to come back to my education, and so
Mm.
it's always been a bit of a regret for me, but I always kept like a toe in because once you love that, you're part of that industry. You always are part of that industry. You just can't shake it
Absolutely.
off.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so that's when I started like my label, my clothing label, or whatever else, and I just kept that. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it was turning 34 this year that did it for me. Like there was a click that happened, and I just thought, you know what, I need to go back because this is the time for me to revisit. And luckily, society, the fashion industry has evolved enough that you can go on social media, you can represent brands and do that kind of stuff. And I just thought, oh, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. I have one of my sisters that is very, very, she's very big in this influencer sphere. So she gave me some tips and whatever else. And I was like, okay, right, let me do this. Let me jump in
Yeah.
it. And it was interesting because, like I said, I celebrated 10 years of, social entrepreneurship this year. And I just thought, and then all that stuff with, the black, George Floyd happened. And I just thought, you know what, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired. Let me just take a break. Let me do something fun and light-hearted for once.
And how
Okay?
does it feel now?
Sorry?
How does it feel now?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm loving it. It's the best thing I've ever done. It really is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
interesting because I'm on my social media, and I'm part of an entrepreneurs network. Mostly guys and whatever else, and the transformation happened overnight, literally. And a lot of people, I got messages from people who were like, "What's going on here? Like, what?" It's just like,
Branded. That's what you did, you
that's
know?
it. And then people that know me were like, well, that's just you. You've always been like, you've always been that kind of person. But the people
Yeah.
that did it were really surprised. But then, I gave them a bit of time and then started looking at the content I was putting out. And then I started seeing them like, and then, connect. And I was like, oh, okay, right, it's working. So, so it's,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And why is it important for men to groom themselves? Because actually, my partner is on now. I hope he's still on. And one of the reasons why I was attracted to him is how he took care of himself.
Ooh, I like that.
This
Yeah.
this was just amazing.
Look
You know what I
at
mean?
the
Because
passion. I love the
sometimes,
passion.
men are, they're rough and they can sweat and they don't need to they don't need to moisturize. They don't take care of their nails. And like a man has been defined so much by society. But does
Yeah.
every man fit into this? And what is a woman attracted to? I would tell you, like for me, this is one of the very things that I'm sure if he stopped, it would really redefine our relationship. I'm not lying to you, but he's so hands on and he takes such good care of himself. It's really a pillar for one of the reasons why I said yes. So tell us about that. Why is it important for a man to take himself?
No, I think because I think it begins there. I think it begins there because as men, we've been so conditioned. We've been so conditioned to be warriors, to be fighters. I was talking. There's a conversation that's running on my page with Alexander Cottle from the Unmasked Man, and we talk about all these issues. And he talks about the four archetypes of manhood. So the lover, the fighter. So there's four archetypes. I can't list all of them, but And, you know, we've been conditioned as men to just be warriors and fighters and be rough and ready and whatever else, because it served the purpose, a few decades ago, men needed to be that. But we're getting to a point now where, masculinity evolves. That's something that I relish in, masculinity evolves. And we, men like me, who are millennials in that sense, are part of that shift, where we're actually saying, let's embrace all the different parts of masculinity. Let's, look at our emotions, our hearts, space. Let's look at our power. Our fighting. Our fighting. Let's bring the equilibrium, and also let's look at our lover energy. And to me, grooming comes under that, the lover energy, because that's the part where you connect with yourself. And I think a lot of men, don't know themselves enough. They don't. And I can say this because of the conditioning that we've been put under. But what grooming does for me certainly is that it gives me that time to connect with myself. Because just the fact that you spend time in front of a mirror, for instance, looking at yourself, checking this out, checking that out, and just you're having a conversation. It's a conversation. There's a monologue that's there. Whether you like what you're seeing or whether you don't like it, the fact that that conversation happens is a very powerful thing. And it's the beginning to that self-awareness, and so getting into the concept of grooming, where you're just like, either you're taking your nail clippers and you're like sitting there clipping your nails, or getting like your cotton pad and just like cleaning your face, it's intimate. It's creating and developing that intimacy with yourself as a man, and that is the beginning of getting to know yourself and beginning to start in the work, on your heart space. That's the way that I see it. It's a very intimate process. Definitely.
And there's this thing that goes around, about that being feminine, when a man's taking care of themselves and going that extra mile. But I can tell you, my partner is very masculine, very, but he takes time to take care of himself, I think he's in the room. He's not supposed to hear this, but I just have to say it because it is something that I know society really talks about. He's a very masculine man in every way you could imagine, but how he takes care of himself is something else. How can people understand that a man is supposed to take care of themselves? That yes, you should go out there, and as a woman, you should also look out, and this should be one of the things, because if your man is not well groomed and elegant and sophisticated in this category, it's something that's missing. I feel for me in a relationship, that is something that would miss and that would affect, the connection that I have with him.
That's interesting, because I think when it comes to that, it's a mixed bag, because I think, different women like different type of men. I've had women that have said to me, "Oh, you're very feminine," because of that aspect, because of this and that. I've had, but my wife, she knows how masculine I am. I don't need to prove it to anybody,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think, like I said, it's a preference thing. Some women don't want their men to even do this, think about it, because they don't want to even think that them and their men are thinking about the same products. Just kind of, some women are just. But it's a preferential thing. But when I'm talking about it from my perspective, it's, and mine and my wife's perspective, it's, she's very much like you. She loves it. She loves
Yeah.
that a man is shining when she's going out with him. She loves it.
Yeah.
It's a pride thing.
Yeah.
And for me, it's something that gives me, it helps me to love myself. It does. It helps me to connect. It helps me to love myself. So again, it's a preferential thing. So when on my page, I'm doing all the things that I'm doing, I'm seeing that guys are actually responding and, liking and things like that. What I'm hoping is, because the other aspect of this is that I've rejected the term influencer. I don't want that. I'm an empowerer, because, on my page, I'm talking about empowering men to actually becoming the man that they want to become. Okay, because I know that there's a lot of men out there that do want to do these things. They do, but they can't because of the perception. Because men are forever
Yeah.
prisoners to
Yeah.
perception. I mean, we're what we're the worst for that. You know, we're prisoners to this. And the worst thing for me is to not be authentic to who you are. You know, and that's the reason why I am the person that I am. I do whatever I want. You know, people have asked me, you know, when I first rebranded, they were like, but don't you have any, what are your thoughts about people thinking that, you know, this is weird? Because, you know, a lot of the time people associate men that especially do, you know, grooming or cosmetics with men from the LGBTQ community, you know, and I've had that question. I said, but, you know, I don't care. Jan does
Yeah.
what Jan wants, and
Yes.
that's it. Because I don't want to live a life. No, absolutely, I don't want to live a life where I'm feeling restricted. I'm not one of these people. You know, I'm not one of these men that just, you know, wants to, you know, just follow the status quo. What do you get from that? What do you get from
Absolutely.
just blindly following what everybody else is doing? You
Yeah.
just get mental health issues, frustrated because you can't do anything, and you end up living a miserable life.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's not me. I like to be you know, thriving. I like to be open. I like to just do what the heck I want. Okay.
Exactly.
And to me, that's what male empowerment is. Pushing past all these things that society has put upon us to just be like, you know what, stuff this. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
exactly what I want to do.
Because it doesn't really work. And I know something that's also a problem in a lot of relationships, talking to clients and to friends, is hygiene. The
Oh,
hygiene
interesting.
of a man. And they complain
Interesting.
about it really a problem in the relationship. So
Hmm.
why is that a problem? Is grooming for a man is so feminine? Why is it then hygiene such a problem in relationships? You know, the
That's
intimacy.
very interesting. I mean, I haven't thought about it like that because I've never had any complaints. So I've never had
Exactly. So
any
I want to try to
complaints.
put out there, you know, if you hear a lot of things, I'm telling you, you know, but it really bothers a woman, I think, because as women, we're very clean and we love to take care of yourselves. And that's what I say. If I see myself a certain way, I want to smell a certain way, I want to do my scrubs and I'm taking care of myself. What do you expect less of your partner?
For your man, you know,
How is
because that's it. Because it's manners at the end of the day. That's where I see grooming as well.
yeah,
It's your manners. Like, you know, that's why I'm dressed like this today. Because, you know, that quote where it says, you know, dressing good, you know, is a form of good manners. It is. That's
it
how I was brought up. I was brought up
is.
to be a gentleman. That's another thing. You know, I come from a long line of gentlemen. You know, my grandparents, you know, my grandfathers, you know, were the men, you know, that used to dress, the men about town. That's what it was. So for me, it's good manners. So of course, grooming falls under that. Why would I go to my wife and talk to her with bad breath? You know, like, you know, would I expect her to do that for
And
me?
expect her
Why would I
to
go to her and lay in bed like this with, you know, no, with, you know, just and she's trying to cuddle me and it stinks and she's just like you know, like, why would I do that? It's just
yeah.
good manners and consideration towards the other person. That's the way that I see it,
Mm.
you know.
So for the men who are watching this and want to get into grooming and just, you know, start it step by step, what kind of tips would you give them?
But I think the easiest thing, I mean, I don't know where people are on their journey, but it's just start with like a roll on, you know. It's just, the roll on that I will that I advocate that I sorry that I can say that I can advise is Schmidt. I don't know if
Okay.
people have heard of that brand. You know, Schmidt is very good. They give some organic flavors and stuff. Lemon, lemongrass, like it's really nice and organic. There's
Yeah.
also native. Native is like, you know, also organic charcoal and that kind of stuff. You can start with that. Face wise, there's nothing worse than having greasy face. Oh, you know, there's nothing worse than that. A lot of men suffer from greasy face because that's just, you know, the way that it is. You know, just make
Man,
sure that you invest in a good
not manly.
invest
It's
in
not
a good,
manly at all. Mhm.
yeah, a good face cleanser. You know, I'd say start with Clinique. You know, Clinique is, you know, moderately priced, but it's actually it's good quality to start with. You know, they've got a nice men's range. You know, whether it's like shaving, whether it's like, you know, but you know, it's important to, yeah, cleanse the face. You know, a good cleanser as well. Clinique does that. You know, Yeah, so these are, to me, these are the basics, you know, and then moisturizing, of course, moisturizing. And since we talk about relationship, check your lips out, guys. Like, you know,
You
there's
know what?
nothing worse, you know. You know, check your lips out. Don't have crusty lips and go and kiss the ladies. Like, you can't do that. That's a faux pas. Make sure you invest in, like, you know, even if it's Vaseline, like, you know, the little tubs, you know, invest
Yeah,
in Vaseline, lip scrubs, you know.
yeah.
These are all the things that make all the difference. You know, you want to
Mm.
minimize the odors as much as you can.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah,
You
what
know,
about that's the facial aspect. I think the grooming that a lot of men do is their hair and the beard, and
yeah.
that's it, you know.
Yeah, that's what
What
I'm
about
saying. So, you know, face is very important. You know, the face cleansing, you know, the the pits, you know, a good roll on. I don't promote deodorant because of, you know,
yeah,
I don't like deodorants. You know, so roll-ons are better, like organic. There's lots of great brands, like I said. And the
mm,
other thing also is nails. I
mm.
don't know how you feel about men with long nails. Right, exactly.
Me-
You know.
A lot of women, me included, would not vouch for that.
Right, exactly. So, you know, just
Because
that's really easy. Just get a nail clipper and just clip your nails, you know.
I just
It's
what about going for a manicure? How was that? In Kenya, I remember back in Kenya, it was a big thing for men to go for manicures and pedicures. Would you vouch for that?
absolutely, I would. The thing is with me is that I'm actually quite a hypocrite when it comes to this because you know, I actually eat my fingernails. I know it's awful. My wife is always telling me. So a lot of the time, there's not enough nail to like clean up. So yeah, guys, it's a very bad habit. It's actually awful. Don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But absolutely, the feet. I have regular pedicures, regular because
Okay.
you know I'm quite an outside guy, and I tend to walk on the ground with no slippers or things like that. That's my rough part. Like I just like, you know, or even
Oh,
gardening. I don't use gloves. Or just like, you know.
that's
So
that's where the man is.
yeah, yeah, you still
Not
have to keep
balance.
some manly parts of it, of course, you know. So I do regular pedicures, you know, they sand. I love, you know, when people sand the bottom of my feet, you know, and
Mm,
how soft it is afterwards, you know, cleaning the nails and that kind of stuff. A pedicure, I definitely vouch for it. There's no better feeling than when your feet have been cleaned, you know. It's amazing, you know. The hands,
what?
I'm still working on. And actually, it's crazy because now that I do lots of commercials and things like that, a lot of it is hand related. So I found myself quite embarrassed at times when they've
And
taken
you
pictures and I'm like, you know,
have then you have to take care. And I think just give it 21 days and make it a habit, and then it's something that you'll get used to. And
it's for me, it's really difficult because, like I said, biting my nails is just I've done that since I was a kid. You know,
yeah, when it comes to that, you have to think, you have to associate. You always, when you want to drop a habit, you have to associate something so drastic or so opposite of that. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. So
yeah.
right now, I'll tell you, think about the fact that you're doing commercials and there's a brand that would want to pick you and they see everything right until they
And
notice the
then
nail.
it's like, here's this
You put that
product, and it's
in
like,
your
oh,
head.
what's this?
To put that in your head and think I will lose a brand. There's this brand that wanted to pick me. So every time you're just about to pick, then that comes into mind and you don't do it. And then for the next like 21 days or just 1 month, you'll not even realize how you stopped biting, you
Yeah,
know.
that's true. That's really good advice. My wife is always on at me. That's the one thing that she's always on at
Yeah.
me about. You know,
Doesn't, yeah.
yeah, there's always got to be one thing, and for me, it's the fingernail. So, you
Yeah.
know.
Try that and see. What about fragrances? How should a man smell?
Fragrances. Wow, you know, again, it's preferential. You know, it's that
Mm,
because you know whatever I like, you know, another guy is going to smell it and just be like, whoa, you know. But you know, I always go my favorite aftershave, and I don't,
mm,
you know, is Savage by Dior. I mean, it's it's absolutely
mm.
gorgeous. I don't know if you've smelled it before.
I
Savage by
have.
Dior.
You know, I always go when I buy my perfumes, even my partner knows, and he's here. I always, you know, I always go to the men section and and smell all these perfumes and ask him, what do you think about this? What do you think? I know his favorite fragrances, but I'm always looking out. So I definitely, I believe I have smelled the Tom Ford one.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's more of an evening kind of wear, you know, thing, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I love anything Tom Ford, you know, the recent one, Ombre, you know, what I love about Tom Ford, I don't know how you feel about. There's a lot of guy feels about it. You know, it's the gender neutral fragrances that have been
Okay.
brought in. You know, so ombre, you know, is gender neutral. It's got like, you know, flowery accent, but it's got peppery accent at the same time. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. You know, I love the concept of gender neutral fragrances. You know, but then again, like I said, it's down to, you know, what your budget is, and also
Yeah,
what your, you know, your scent buds are like. But you know, anything Tom Ford, absolutely. You know, Dior, yes, yeah, definitely.
yeah, but let me touch on this, the whole budget thing, because you know a trip is expensive. So while it's really good to budget, and I do that, I'm really a budget person. But there are things I don't compromise on, like fragrance, because you can get fragrances that are not so expensive. Of course, not so
Hmm.
cheap. You have to have one or two designer perfumes, and that can last you for such a long time. So in essence, if you buy something cheap, you find yourself, because if you spray a cheap perfume, you find yourself spraying that all the time just to keep smelling that way. But if you buy something really good, a designer one, then it lasts you. Have one, two sprays, and that's going to last you. So you find you're not using it for a very long time. And in essence, it lasts you longer, and you don't spend as much. And this goes into very many aspects of how to spend our money.
Yeah.
So would you advise, in as much as the whole budget thing comes into place, men investing into some of these things, because that fragrance can last you up to, I don't know, 6 months
I
or
just
even
I just think it's a prestige thing. Every man needs a designer, you know, aftershave. At least
right?
one. You know, if you're on a budget, but you need one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, you know, when I talk about suits and things like that, everybody needs at least one designer suit. And I
Yeah,
don't know if I know some people are like, yeah, come on, you know. But, you know, this is coming from the guy who's got like, you know, a wardrobe, you know, full of stuff. You know, I'm not trying to brag. I'm not.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
know, every man at least needs
yeah.
one
Mm-hmm.
something designed, because as much as, you know, in our community we'll say, oh no, but we're giving money to these, you know, these white-owned businesses and things like that. Okay, fine, but let's just be light-hearted for a minute. You know, you need that designer thing, you know, because it's upmarket. It gives you that temporary upgrade, and
Yeah.
everybody needs that to feel great. Absolutely, you can't compromise on quality. You can't. You know, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say it like it is. You can't compromise on quality. Quality is a beautiful thing. You know, when you spray one of these Tom Ford aftershaves on you versus something else cheap, I mean, there's no comparison. There isn't. And it just gives you that taste of, you know, that it just, yeah, it just brings you up, you know. It's like when you're cooking, you're making a stew, for instance, and then you just add like this, you know, you add like spice, you know, herbs to it and spices, and then it just takes it to that next level. It's the same thing. That's the way that I see it, because I cook as well. So, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's the analogy that I like now.
Yeah, awesome. So do you think men should wear fragrances? Because that's also a topic. As a woman, I tell you the smell of a man is very important. You know, that his natural smell. Do you think fragrances are a must for every man?
A must.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, no. You definitely. You know, I've had different people say different things about that.
Mm.
Where it's like, oh, you know, you need to love your own personal scent, and you need to be
But I
natural,
love
and
my personal
you
scent,
need
but
to
I
be
love
organic. And I get it, but I'm
okay.
sorry. At the end of the day, I used to be a haute couture fashion model, so you know,
Yeah.
the superficial aspect comes out when it comes to this, and I just think it's a must. And you know, the important aspect, like you mentioned, is that, you know, your lady needs to be able to, you know, love what you say, because there's also instances where, you know, men wear color, you know, aftershave, and the ladies are just like, oh. Like they just can't stand
Yeah.
it. That's happened. So feel free to go out with your ladies and purchase your after. So like, you can have the one that you purchase yourself for you,
Mm.
and then the one where you go with your ladies purchase, and then that's for a special one. Why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
But
My wife loves all the aftershaves that I have. So
um, that's amazing. That's awesome. So is it too late for a man to start grooming himself? Or at what age?
no.
Is it too late? What age is the perfect age to begin, or what age is the latest age to begin?
No, listen, my mom is the reason why I'm like this, I started grooming, at 11, 10, 11. As soon as I became like, a
Oh,
mini man.
exciting.
Yeah, I started, she was teaching me the importance of this, that, this, so I started very young, it's because, it's something that that's been part of me. I
Mm,
just don't think there's an age, there's no age,
mm,
you're always going to need to take care of yourself. That never goes
mm,
away. So there's no age for when you can start. Even if
mm,
you're like in your 80s or 60s, whatever. There's some very, very elegant gentlemen, more senior or more mature, that are killing it. There is
mm,
no age to look good. There's no age to look good. Absolutely not.
mm. Fantastic, Jan. So your parting words before we come to the close of our live at Lovers, your parting words in terms of grooming and in terms of identity.
But in terms of identity, I would say, as a people, we need to open up. We need to acknowledge people's differences.